I just washed and waxed my car. I just waxed it not too long ago, but it rained so much and so hard that it messed it up. Anyway, looking good now. 2004 Honda Accord. Fantastic vehicle. Love it. Probably have it at least another 5 years. My girl gets out of high school. My youngest gets out of high school. I might get me a new car. We'll see if I have any money by then. So GMan made a good video, and I'll try to link it. He was talking about games people play, how people are playing games, and it's brought me onto a topic that I wanted to cover a while ago, and I kind of forgot about it, but it reminded me of an experience I had this summer. I was talking to my dad, and we had, I only see my dad once a year, and we had a really, we have some pretty deep conversations. It's kind of nice, my dad's gotten older. He's in his 70s, and he retired not too long ago. And I don't know, people change, soften up a little bit, become more receptive. And so we've been talking a lot about some spiritual topics and things when I'm there visiting. And I was talking about, games and how we're really just playing roles. We're all playing our individual roles. And those roles change. I mean, right now I'm playing the role of a father and husband and a worker and all that, and then one day I'll play a different role. Later on maybe it'll be something different. Maybe it'll be a role I never even imagined I'd play. And but that's what makes life interesting and makes life worth living. These roles are teaching us things. But what I wanted to comment on was in the Bhagavad Gita, which is basically it's a Hindu, Indian. I guess the Hindus probably co-opted it, but it probably predates even the Hindu religion. But it's about this guy, he's a prince, his name is Arjuna, and he's having to face a horrible, horrible decision. He has to, basically, he's a prince, so he has an army that's under his command, and he has been mandated by the king to go to war with and kill they're basically like bad cousins. Like everybody's got a bad cousin, right? Well, he's got a whole bunch of them, and he has to go to war against his own family members. And he's very distraught, very upset. And Krishna, Lord Krishna, who, in the Hindu religion is the embodiment of Christ consciousness on earth, just like Jesus is to the Christians. And he is Arjuna's like manservant, like his right-hand man, I guess you could call it. Well, Arjuna has no idea who Krishna is, who he really is. He doesn't understand, because he's, very limited consciousness. I mean, you got to consider the guy's a young guy, he's a prince, he's a warrior. He's been trained in how to fight and battle tactics and all that. But, he's probably pretty superficial. He's just a young man that has young man interests. And he has no idea who Krishna is. Krishna, is probably serving Arjuna and, taking care of him and helping him lace up his armor and, all the sundry tasks that, the first man would have to do. And so Arjuna's lamenting, oh my God, how can I go to war against my family? How can I go to war against my own flesh and blood? And Krishna starts out by reminding him of who he is. You're the son of so and so, and you're the prince, and it's your duty. It's your duty, right? So he starts out on a very physical plane, very physical level, saying, it's your duty. Get in there. You're going to get in there, and you're going to take these dudes out. This is your job, okay? This is your duty. Then he gets more subtle, because he understands he can't come at Krishna with the full power, right? He can't tell him who he is and what Arjuna is until he has basically covered the physical, the mental levels of existence. And so he gets more and more, and he tells Arjuna, I am not who you think I am. You're not who you think you are. And he opens his mouth, and Arjuna looks into his mouth and sees the entire universe. Like he sees, like, I'm imagining it's very similar to, I keep referring to these near-death experiencers because they're having a very interesting experience, and a lot of them are having the same experience of what they call God, what they call the infinite, what they're calling beingness. And he has a vision of that, Arjuna does. And when he has that vision of who, not only who Arjuna or who Krishna really is, that Krishna is the embodiment of that in manifest physical form, but he also realizes that I'm infinite, I'm eternal also. And that's what Krishna is trying to get him up to speed on. And what he's saying is, when you go out and you strike the enemy dead, when you kill the enemy, you're not really killing anything. They are not dying. They're not really dying. They're just changing form. And it brings me back to what GMan was saying about playing games, because what I realized when I was talking to my dad about this is that this story of Arjuna and Krishna is really the story of our own spiritual journey. When we go to the heart, when we go to the center, when we go to source, we see that infinite reality, and we start to identify more and more with that. And we start to realize, thou art that. I'm not this physical shell. I am something more. I'm eternal. I exist beyond this space and time. And the enemies are those things keeping us from having that realization. So we're in this allegorical battle with our own internal processes that are keeping us pinned down. It's almost like a net has been cast over us, and we're cutting through these strings that are holding the net together. And it becomes more and more transparent. The more strings we cut, the more refined and more purified and more rarefied we become. The strings drop away, and then we realize our absolute nature. That part of us that doesn't die, lives forever. And anyway, the Bhagavad Gita is all about that. And people I think they totally misinterpreted that. And they say, oh, I think it might have been a real situation, but it was I don't know if allegory is the right word, but it was a story to help us see an internal process and take it for what it's worth. I thought that was interesting, and it was an interesting realization when it came to me, because it was totally, I had never thought of that before. Anyway, hope you have a good day.